song. I'm not even really sure who was singing, but I'm not sure who the artist was.
I don't either, but it was beautiful.
It was jazzy. I liked it.
Hi, good morning, happy Sunday. Good morning, and welcome to our online community. Today is Sunday, February 1st, and it's also a full moon. So happy full moon in Leo. It's time to find a balance between what you want and the needs of your friends. So let your light shine today. That's on my new moon calendar. And I'm really liking it. And if everyone would join me in our opening prayer. Mother, Father, God, thank you for the blessings that we enjoy every day and for the love that embraces this community. As we quiet our minds, we can release any concerns or worries as we prepare to enjoy Reverend Jen's talk. We are invited to open our hearts to the meaning of the message and also to the presence of divine love, the divine love that is within all of us all the time. Amen, and so it is. I'd like to welcome Reverend Jen back to the podium.
Adjustments. We're making adjustments up here. Good morning again. And good morning. Welcome to our friends online. Glad that you're joining us. So this month, our ministerial team decided to give messages on the theme of, it's February, guess. What would the theme for February? Love. You got it. That's right, love. So often, many of us, when we hear the word love, sometimes we instinctively look outward. So we think of maybe romantic love or family love, community love, maybe divine love. And while all these forms of love or these expressions of love deeply matter, today we're going to have a bold conversation. And we're talking about the love that lives at the center of all of us, self-love. Now, self-love can be misunderstood. Sometimes it gets tangled up in the ideas of selfishness or ego or maybe indulgence. True love is none of these things. It's not about putting ourselves above or in front of others. It's about finally placing ourselves within that sacred circle of loved ones. And the quality and the quantity of love that we offer the world should never exceed the quantity and the quality of love that we're willing to give ourselves. Shouldn't be more than we're willing to give ourselves. So I'm going to should on you for a minute, right? We shouldn't be giving more than we're giving to ourselves. And I'm not talking about self-love as a catchy phrase or a slogan or an idea that maybe we continue to repeat. Not a project of becoming more acceptable or something to fix or perfect. I'm talking about self-love as a relationship with ourselves. And just like any relationship, it's built on how we listen and how we speak and how we respond when we're hurting deep inside. It's about choosing compassion instead of criticism, and curiosity instead of judgment, and connection instead of abandonment. And when we tend to that inner relationship with care, trust begins to grow. And that trust is the foundation for our spiritual growth. Because our spiritual growth can't move faster than our willingness to be kind and loving to ourselves. We don't truly awaken when we have a war within. When we think about or we talk about our spiritual path, we talk a lot about awakening, right? About growth, about healing, about becoming more conscious, or maybe more aligned or more loving. But that spiritual practice that quietly sits underneath all of it and is often the most difficult for us to embody is self-love. And at its deepest level, self-love doesn't promise constant happiness, right? Or an uninterrupted sense of ease, right? It doesn't make life easier. We're still doing life, right? We're still doing life. Instead, it invites us into an inner harmony, a harmony. And that harmony doesn't mean that everything inside of us is going to agree, right? Not everything's going to agree. It means the different parts of us are given permission to exist together without rejection. So that's our thoughts, our emotions, our body, our spirits. And many of us have learned to fragment ourselves in order to survive. And maybe that happened in childhood, or maybe that happened because of a difficult relationship, or some of us are slow learners. Maybe it happened because of difficult relationships, right? And so we learn to push aside our feelings, and we started to override our intuition, to keep going, to keep pressing forward, even when something inside of us was asking for maybe rest or patience. And as time passes, that divide or that inner division starts to feel normal. And our spiritual path, just a reminder, our spiritual path is not a journey away from our humanness. It's a movement toward wholeness, right? That full integration, rising beyond that expanded awareness. And we allow that harmony within us when we stop trying to fix what we find. And instead we listen. With a willingness, we can say, I'm here with myself. And in that presence, something softens. We become tender with ourselves. And we live in a world of comparison. It makes it pretty difficult to love ourselves. We live in a culture of constant comparison, right? With one glance at our screen, we're exposed, or we expose ourselves to carefully curated versions of other people's lives, right? Reels that are shaped by filters. Who doesn't have a filter on, right? And timing, and what somebody chooses to share. These moments of maybe success or beauty or celebration, they appear side by side, our very human, unfinished lives. And without realizing it, we start comparing our behind the scenes, what's going on in our own lives, with someone else's edited moments. I'm going to say that again. We're comparing our lives, our behind the scenes, with someone else's moments that they've edited through filters or whatever they've chosen, right? And maybe an inner dialogue begins. Am I pretty enough? Am I thin enough? Am I enough? Do I have enough? Do I have enough money? Do I have enough time? Do I have enough education? Am I doing life right? And underneath all of those questions, I think, is a deeper one. We're asking ourselves, do I measure up? And that question silently diminishes. It actually erodes that inner harmony. Comparison pulls us out of being present and into judgment. And we're not being present with ourselves. We're comparing what's going on in that world, that edited world. And that judgment, it separates us from ourselves. Eckhart Tolle speaks beautifully about this. He teaches that much of our suffering comes from the mental self-image. So that idea that we hold about ourselves, who we are. And that image is shaped by our past. It's shaped by many things: our past, our roles, maybe our families or our labels, our stories. And we spend a lot of time trying to defend it, or maybe we're improving it or criticizing it. I was listening to one of his podcasts, and he offered a gentle reminder as he started talking about pets. And he said, our pets don't have a mental self-image. If you want to learn about not having a mental self-image, he says, watch your dog or your cat. They don't have an opinion of who they are, right? They just are who they are. A dog doesn't wonder if it's lovable, and a cat's not comparing itself to another cat, right? They're not thinking about themselves at all. They're simply in the present. That removes a lot of problems in their life, right? Of course, they don't have the mind activity that creates that self image in their head. They are pre mind, he says. They have it a lot easier than us, I think. We can look at an ugly dog or an ugly cat. They don't have a problem with it, right? Or a fat dog or a fat cat. They're okay. They don't have a self image. Maybe the cat can't jump up on the fence anymore or on the back of the couch because it's too old. And it doesn't say, oh, I'm useless now. How can I carry on? Right? It just is. It just is. It doesn't detract or take away from its self image because the cat doesn't have a self image, right? How wonderful would that be to live without that self image? Because we're the presence. We're not the form that is that temporary expression of us, right? We're not that the physicality. We're the underlying presence. You are what is beneath. He says, when you feel yourself as that underlying presence, you don't need to live through that mental self-image of who you are. You go beyond hating yourself. You go beyond loving yourself, and you're just being yourself. Okay, smarty pants, Eckhart. How do I love myself? You tell me. It sounds so easy, right? Well, he invites us to notice something really gentle, but I think it's profound. When we ask, how can I love myself? He says there's two selves present. The one that's trying to do the loving and the one that's being judged. And that's where the struggle begins. We become identified with an image of who we think we are. We identify with that image who we think we are, or who we should be, or who we're trying to become. And self-love isn't about convincing that image, whichever image we've chosen, that it's finally good enough. It's about loosening that attachment, maybe releasing it altogether. It's about coming back to presence. When we're present, there is no comparison. There's no measurement. There's just living awareness right here, right now. And this is where the heart becomes essential. Whenever we talk about love, we can't forget about the heart's role, right? And through many, many spiritual traditions, the heart has been understood as a portal or a doorway between the human and the divine. So if we think about our heart chakra, it's that bridge. A lot of us believe that's that bridge between the physical and the spiritual, right? The lower chakras and the upper chakras. While our minds analyze and our ego compares, our heart connects. It's all about connection. So think about this. When we get caught in self-judgment, when we're really being harsh on ourselves and judging ourselves, we start to kind of fold in, right? Maybe we round our shoulders and the heart begins to contract. And so maybe you feel that. You feel that tightness in your chest or maybe some discomfort. But when we offer ourselves love and compassion, what happens? You feel that ease and it just relaxes, right? Our heart opens. And when that heart opens, that's when our consciousness expands. Self-love doesn't just make us feel better, it actually alters our state of awareness. That's why awakening, when we talk about awakening, it's not a mental achievement. It comes from the heart. It's a heart-centered remembering. As we soften into the heart, that's when inner harmony deepens. We stop forcing growth and we stop comparing. We stop striving to become someone else. And we begin to align with who we truly are. And from this place, healing is happening and our choices become clearer and our boundaries are kinder and they're stronger. And maybe our intuition gets a little bit easier to hear or a little bit easier to feel. And that congruence, that brings us to a place of living our spirituality, not just trying to look spiritual. It's not something that we do, right? It becomes something that we live. We embody that wholeness. We're all of it. We're both. And without self-love, our spiritual path or spirituality becomes another standard, one more thing to live up to. When we measure our progress or we judge our emotions and question whether or not we're doing it right, are we doing this right? That allows comparison to creep in, to show up. We think maybe we should be more spiritual or more peaceful or more grateful or more loving or more awakened, right? But we want to come closer to who we are without all of that pressure, because that's a lot of pressure. Our spiritual paths aren't meant to be just another place for us to be in judgment, for self-judgment. The journey is a space of compassion and healing and honesty and a return, coming back to ourselves. We don't need to criticize ourselves to become or remain awakened, right? Because awakening comes through acceptance, accepting all of those aspects of ourselves, all of the aspects of ourselves. And then we're meeting ourselves without resistance. And that allows our nervous system to relax. Maybe our mind quiets and our heart opens, it softens. And that's when we expand. When we stop comparing, we stop trying to measure ourselves or fix ourselves or become something other than we are, something gently shifts, very subtly, when we release the need to prove or to perform or to constantly improve on who we are. We begin to settle. And I'm not saying that we shouldn't work on ourselves. I don't mean that. But when we're doing that work, allowing and creating time for integration to allow those things to really settle in, we return to ourselves. We come home. We step right back into our life, the one that's actually here, the one that's unfolding in real time right now. Self-love becomes the willingness to stay present with ourselves in uncertainty, right? Staying present with ourselves in tenderness and imperfection. Self-love becomes the choice to remain, to stay present with what's real, even when it's uncomfortable, even when you feel that discomfort, even when the answers aren't clear, even when life feels messy, when you're unsure, because we're still learning. We're still learning. It's not a weakness. It's not falling behind. It's not giving up. It's growing wise. It's a quiet strength. It's maturity. It's spiritual maturity. So as we begin to close the service today, I'm going to invite you not to ask yourself how to love yourself better or how to become more spiritual or how to get it all right. Instead, something a little simpler, I hope. I invite you to pause and just place your hand on your heart, and that can even be inwardly. And remember that you're already included in that love that you seek. You're already included. There's nothing wrong with you for being a human. Nothing wrong. Nothing's broken because we're still learning. Nothing's missing because your life is still unfolding. Self-love isn't something that we achieve. It's something that we allow, to listen instead of judging, to soften instead of resist. Self-love isn't ego, and it's not being selfish. It's a sacred decision to stop abandoning ourselves and stop forgetting ourselves. And each time that we choose that, each time we meet ourselves with compassion, our heart opens. And with that open heart, we expand and healing happens and alignment returns. We come back into alignment. We come home again and again to the truth of who we really are. And on the spiritual path, Maybe this is a spoiler alert. I don't know. Loving ourselves isn't optional. On the spiritual path, loving ourselves is not optional. It's the ground that we walk on. Yeah, it's the ground that we walk on. And may we walk on that ground and that path gently with patience and kindness and with love for ourselves. So instead of a meditation, I'm going to do something a little bit different. I'd like to offer you something a little bit different. One of my first spiritual teachers would often close her services with having everybody stand up. So I invite you, if you'd like to stay seated, that'd be okay too. But everybody would stand up and she would have them say, and we'll do it all together, "Oh my God, I love myself." And you stretch your arms out and you give yourself a giant hug. And so that can be, "Oh my God, oh my goddess, oh my spirit," whatever feels true for you. And don't worry about who you're bumping, just do it with love, right? But we'll do it all together. We'll say it all together. "Oh my God, I love myself," right? 1, 2, 3. "Oh my God, I love myself." Give yourself a big, big hug. There you go. All right. Doesn't that feel good? You can sit down. Or you can hug yourself again. And hopefully our friends at home sit up and get themselves a great big hug. Great. All right. Well, now we're just so much in love, we're going to move into all right. We also have our QR code up here, and for our friends online, you're welcome to donate and give via PayPal. PayPal. All right. So as you prepare your offering, so let's just hold it in our hands and charge it with the energy of alignment and generosity and sacred intention. We know that we're part of a greater circulation of good and that our gifts will multiply for the highest healing, growth, and service to us and our community. As the basket is coming around, please fill it with your blessings, and we thank you for your generosity and for continuing to support our good works. And so it is. And as the basket goes around, I'll invite Reverend Lynn back up to the podium.
I love that talk. I love that talk. You're welcome. I have I don't have a story, but I have a few little statements. Young children were interviewed on what they thought what they think love is. And so I'd like to read those to you. I think they're rather cute. The first one says, "Love is what makes you smile when you're tired." It's like that. And a 4-year-old little boy said, excuse me, "When someone loves you, they say your name different. You just know that your name is safe in their mouth." And the last one, a 7-year-old girl said, "When you love someone, your eyelashes go up and down, and little stars come out all over out of you." I like that. Those are cute. Only from children, right? If you would all join me in our closing prayer. Thank you. As we come to a close of our service, let us remember that love is not just a feeling. Love is the soul of all life. Right now, right now, we can choose to express that love. We can commit to being a presence of compassion and care in our community, speaking with kindness and listening with an open heart, being guided by wisdom and acting with integrity. Let us receive our strength from this always present love and hold on to the knowing that we can be the light in all circumstances. Remember, you are all loved beyond measure. Amen. And to our online community, from our heart to yours, thank you for being with us. Have a beautiful week, and you are loved unconditionally also. Have a good week.